lost in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names? Broken future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, it's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's August 21st, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. What do we got today? Quite a bit actually to get to. Never-ending propaganda out of the Trump administration. Allegedly, Trump is going to patrol the DC streets with police and military as the martial law situation there in Washington, D.C. continues to develop. It's also being reported that military lawyers to handle civilian crimes in D.C. What is going on there? What else do we got today for you? The Smithsonian. The Trump administration's going full on war with the Smithsonian. Apparently, they claim, the Trump administration claims woke is dead, as our thumbnail here shows, right from the White House. Let me put that up on the screen so everybody can see this. You didn't see the thumbnail for today's show. Here it is. Woke is dead, they claim here from the White House. We'll get to more of that. Is woke really dead? Is woke even the right term for it? Cultural Marxism is what it is, political correctness. Some of the stuff out of the Smithsonian is disturbing, I have to admit. We'll get into, well, what else is the claims of cover-ups by the Smithsonian. We'll get into some of that. What else do we got today? Some wins for Trump as his $500 million civil fraud fine is overturned in New York. So it's starting to look like more and more, well, it was all political theater show. Gavin Newsom says, wake up, America, because Trump is going to rig the 2026 elections, as Texas has voted to redistrict. We'll cover that, and then California's response to it. What else do we got here today? A little bit of public health news. Johnson & Johnson, we're going to take a look at them as the Trump administration brags. Johnson & Johnson continues U.S. investment with $2 billion committee to enable manufacturing at state-of-the-art North Carolina facility. We'll take a look. Should Johnson & Johnson have their corporate charter revoked? How do you get rid of these corporations? Revoke their corporate charter? We'll take a look at some of the wrongdoings by old Johnson & Johnson. Ask, why are they even allowed to operate here in America? I think we know why, but we'll do a little dive on them. Are we going to war? Are we going to war in South America? Looks like it. Looks like America, NORTHCOM, Northern Military Command, is going to war with drug cartels, Mexican drug cartels, looking to intimidate Maduro out of Venezuela and anybody else who gets in the way, apparently. So we're going to go over that report. Will Congress do anything about it? I don't know. We'll go over that. Is Trump a dictator? Sure looks like it. Sure looks like it. Where the hell's Congress? Where's Congress? I don't know. What else do we got? A lot of geopolitical news. Big news out of Russia with a major trade agreement being announced between Russia and India. And so they're bucking, India's bucking the pressure from America, from Trump, to not deal with Russia and buy their oil to fuel their war machine. But turns out they signed a big deal today that we'll go over. Strengthening BRICS here now is what it looks like. Some other geopolitical developments, and of course the genocide. Bibi says we need to start censoring the interwebs, the social medias, because they're antiseptic, talking out both sides of his mouth per usual. They're getting ready. I think they already have attacked Gaza City, but hey, they're looking for a ceasefire and to get rid of the hostages and bring back the hostages, even though they don't care about the hostages. How dare you say that? You know what I'm saying? We've got a message from Yemeni leader al-Houthi. We'll play that for you. What else do we got? Yeah, what's going on? What is going on with Lebanon and aardvarks? Aardvark land. They're still killing the hell out of people. We'll get to reports out of there. What's the Trump administration doing about that? The famine there continues to blockade, the siege. We got a report here from some UN aid workers. What's going on there? And yeah, they're going in there now. So we can expect to see mass casualties in this genocide ethnic cleansing program. All that and much more on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News for you. Let's take a look at the chat briefly, and then we'll get on with all the news. Let's see. What do we got here? Chloe, thank you for joining the chat there, Chloe. Hopefully more people will come online here as we get into the show. Let's get to this day in history. On this day, going back to the year 1321, 160 aardvarks are burned at the stake in Chinon, France. They noticed something way back then. Fast forward in history, on this day in 1831, former slave Nate Turner leads uprising against slavery. Fast forward a little bit more to well, we had a bunch of Civil War battles going on here. Let's go to 1863 on this day. The Lawrence Massacre. Quintrill's raid. 450 Confederate guerrillas led by William Quintrill with William T. Anderson and Frank James attack the Unionist town of Lawrence, Kansas, killing more than 150 unarmed men and boys. Part of the horrific American Civil War. Next year, 1864, we saw the Battle of Global Tavern, Virginia, ending with 2,500 casualties. Also in 1864, the Battle of Grubb's Crossroads, Kentucky. And in 1864, the Battle of Summit Point, Virginia. So you could see the Civil War was raging on this day back in 1864. Fast forwarding here to 1878, and this was the beginning of the end here for justice in America. In the year 1878, on this day, the American Bar Association organized in Saratoga, New York. On this day in 1888, Burroughs adding machine. American inventor William Seward Burroughs patents the adding machine. Here's an image of the design patented. The adding machine there. Make it a little smaller to get it on the screen here. You guys can see that. That is quite an invention, actually. Okay, continuing here. In where year was that? 1888. In the year 1897, on this day, we saw Oldsmobile complete the manufacture of its first automobile, rolling off of the manufacturing line in Lansing, Michigan. In 1915, part of World War I, escalating, Italy declares a war on Turkey. In 1942, on this day, Walt Disney's animated film Bambi was released. And they killed the deer. Sad to spoiler alert there. In 1959, Hawaii becomes the 50th state in the Union. In 1980, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, is founded in Tocumb Park, Maryland. And they get crazy about some stuff, you know, PETA. But hey, they did call out Fauci and the Beagle experiments publicly and exposed it. So I give them credit for that. And don't abuse animals. You know what I mean? It's all bad. Fast forward to, and we're going to get to more reporting on Johnson & Johnson. In 2017, on this day, Johnson & Johnson's ordered to pay $417 million to women who developed ovarian cancer after using their talc-based products. Horrific. Again, how are they even allowed to operate here? Well, almost like there's a conspiracy now, isn't there? In 2018, on this day, Michael Cohen pleads guilty. Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal lawyer, pleads guilty to charges including making illegal payments at the direction of Trump to women with whom Trump had affairs. And also on this day in 2018, Paul Manafort, former Trump campaign chairman, is convicted of 8 counts of fraud in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. And then fast forward to today, August 21st, 2025. 2 interesting reports here. A 1642 will at the center of a legal battle over Shakespeare's home is found after 150 years in an unlabeled box at the National Archives. Isn't that convenient? And in 2025, on this day, today, Egyptian authorities unveil parts of a 2,000-year-old sunken city submerged off the coast of Alexandria, Egypt, including buildings, statues, artifacts, and an ancient dock. What else do we got here for you? Our civil liberties history. On this day in 1955, the Juvenile Delinquency and Crime Commission in Houston, Texas, claimed success on this day in its anti-rock and roll crusade. The effort involved persuading radio stations not to play recordings with, quote, lewd or suggestive lyrics. All 9 Houston radio stations cooperated. The crusade began when African-American parents objected to a program that had a female singer, race not identified, whose burlesque Southern African American singers, and in the process performed numbers with suggestive lyrics. Other censorship actions involved public fears of rock and roll, included a ban on a film, Blackboard Jungle, in Memphis, Tennessee, and a ban on Fats Domino concert in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And let's play a segue to the news. This is propaganda out of the White House. Promises made, promises kept, they say. Let's watch this and figure out, do we agree, disagree? What's going on with promises made, promises kept by Trump?
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley.
Google announcing that they will update the Maps app to use the name Gulf of America and also Mount McKinley.
I will secure our elections.
We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections.
I will defend religious liberty. This week I'm also creating the White House Faith Office. I will shut down the Federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the states. In a few moments I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education. We're going to bring transparency and accountability back to our government.
Everybody in this room has access to the most transparent and accessible president in American history. President Trump answered nearly 100 questions from the press, all of you, during his first 3 open press cabinet meetings this year.
We will demolish the deep state and we will drain the swamp once and for all. I revoked the security clearances of Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, John Brennan, James Clapper. I also revoked Joe Biden's security clearances. We will rebuild our once great cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again.
The executive order establishes what would be called the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. This task force would focus on enforcing what the White House calls quality of life laws, like drug use, unpermitted demonstrations, and vandalism.
Sorry about that. I had some glitch over here. I don't have the right title on the show. Anyway, title of this show is Cartel Wars, Woke is Dead, Russia, Indian double trade and complete global control. Having to do some live editing here. Sorry about that. Okay, continuing. This is not yesterday's show. This is a new show today. Some more propaganda here out of the White House. God bless America, they say. Let's watch this video.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America! And gentlemen, start your
I don't know, Chloe, where's everybody at? Maybe they think it's a replay from yesterday because the wrong title here. Continuing, Trump to patrol D.C. streets with police and military. Who knows how much that's going to cost for security detail. President Trump said he plans to go out on patrol with the Metropolitan Police Department and National Guard troops around Washington, D.C. tonight amid a federal crackdown on crime. I think we have video of that. Also, military lawyers to handle civilian crimes in DC. Military attorneys will be working alongside federal prosecutors based in Washington, D.C., taking on civilian cases as President Trump ramps up the takeover of local law enforcement in the nation's capital. 20 members of the Judge Advocate Corps will be detailed to the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. The assignment of 20 JAGs to my office is further proof of President Trump's commitment to fighting and reducing crime in the district, said old Judge Janine. It's getting very militarized there quickly. Let's hear, here's Trump saying that he's going to go on the patrol on the Todd Stern show, audio only, I believe.
And I'm going to be going out tonight. I'm going to keep it a secret, but I'm going to go. You're the only one that knows. You and your lots of listeners. You have a great show. You have a very successful show, by the way, in case you haven't heard that. But I'm going to be going out tonight, I think, with the police, and with the military, of course. So we're going to do a job.
What? Here's Trump talking to the troops there in D.C. a little bit ago today.
And I think you brought some food for him, didn't you, President?
So we have great hamburgers cooked by the White House, and we have pizza that I said don't do it in the White House because we went to a place that makes the best pizza. So we'll concede, but we have a lot of it. So we're going to have some fun. We'll eat, and I'll eat with you, and we're going to have a little fun. We're going to celebrate, but then we're going to get back to work, and we're going to take care of these criminals. We're going to put them where they have to be. You're going to say, don't play around with us. Don't play around with us. So let's go have something to eat. You're going to like the hamburgers? Would you rather have hamburgers from the White House or pizzas from a good place, huh? I think they want the hamburgers. Have a good time, everybody. Thank you very much.
Have a good time. Oh, man. President Trump will always back the blue. So there you go. The order followers implementing the tyranny. ICE aims to spend millions on decked out vehicles for DC. I thought we were cutting government spending. There's a report out of Washington Compost. Let's take a look at that. ICE is seeking to spend millions of dollars on SUVs and custom gold detailed vehicle wraps emblazed with the words "Defend the Homeland," according to a contract, social media post, and records that describe the decked out fleet as urgently needed in President Trump's stated mission to improve safety on the streets of the District of Columbia. Government contracting documents made public this week show the agency proposed paying 4 companies more than $2.4 million, $2.25 million for 25 Chevy Tahoes from Hendrick Motorsports in North Carolina, and about $174,000 for custom wraps of the Tahoes, Ford Expeditions, and other vehicles by 3 companies, including 2 in the Washington region. ICE selected the companies without an open bidding process and was required to submit the documents to justify the lack of full and open cooperation. So they're going to have real fancy vehicles there. Real fancy on our dime. Hey, Denver. I had the wrong title here. Apologies again. I had some kind of glitch going on. Okay, so what's the police state look like in DC? According to Pam Bondi, they've recorded 630 arrests and 86 guns seized as of today. DHS scores major victory in the legal battle over unvetted immigration. In a significant legal victory today, the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals granted the Trump administration request for a stay pending appeal in a lawsuit over HHS Kristi Noem's decision to end temporary protected status TPS for aliens from Honduras, Nicaragua, and Nepal. Trump administration reviewing all, I didn't realize there was this many, 55 million people with U.S. visas for potential deportation violations, deportable violations. U.S. State Department said today that it's reviewing the records of more than 55 million foreigners who hold valid U.S. visas for potential revocation or deportation or deportable violations of immigration rules. In a written answer to a question posed by the AP, the State Department said that all U.S. visa holders are subject to continuous vetting with an eye toward any indication that they could be ineligible for the document. Going after visa holders. Will they go after us for having U.S. citizenship and criticizing the government? Is that next? It may very well be. The Smithsonian, the Trump administration's gone to war now against the Smithsonian. Let's take a look at what this looks like. This is right from the White House. Well, again, the White House says woke is dead. Here's the, for those that missed it, here's their post. Woke is dead, they say. Is it? I have my doubts. But they're going after the Smithsonian museums. Let's take a look at what the White House is saying here. President Trump is right about the Smithsonian. The National Museum of African American History and Culture debuted a series to educate people on a society that privileges white people and whiteness, defining so-called white dominant culture as ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time. We covered this yesterday, portraying the, quote, nuclear family, work ethic, and intellect as white qualities rooted in racism. And that's from the Smithsonian right there. Aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture. As part of its campaign to stop being wealthy, pale, and male, the National Portrait Gallery featured a choreographed modern dance performance detailing the ramifications of the southern border wall and commissioned an entire series to examine American portrait and institutional history through the lens of historical exclusion. Covered this yesterday, the intersex flag there. They're getting rid of that. No word on the occult sun logo of the Smithsonian there. Right there, right? No word on that, which is pretty creepy if you think about it. Continuing, the National Portrait Gallery features art, the act of illegally crossing inclusive and exclusionary southern border, even making it a finalist for one of its awards. And here is said art. Is that AI generated? I don't know. Looks like it could be. Looks like it could be AI generated. What else do we got here? The National Museum of American Latino features programming, highlights animated Latinos and Latinas with disabilities with content from a disabled plus-size actress and an ambulatory wheelchair user, and educates on the identity being Latinx, LGBTQ plus, and disabled. Latinos with disabilities are diverse. Los Latinos. There you go. I don't know what's wrong with this, White House. Continuing here. According to the National Museum of American Latino, what unites Latinas and Latinos is Black Lives Matter movement. That's kind of a disconnect there, but what the hell? The National Portrait Gallery commissioned a stop motion animation that examines the career of Dr. Anthony Fauci. We played that yesterday. I think we'll play it again today. It is quite disturbing. So what else do we got? They just go through their nitpicking, their quote wokeism there, which is very subversive, I must admit. Let's see, an American History Museum exhibit features a depiction of the Statue of Liberty holding a tomato in her right hand instead of a torch, and a basket of tomatoes in her left hand instead of a tablet. Right there. Obviously, liberty to the farm workers. National Museum of the American Latino features an anti-American exhibit that defines Latino history as centuries of victimhood and exploitation, suggests that the U.S. is stolen land, and characterizes U.S. history as rooted in colonization. The exhibit features writings from illegal aliens fighting to belong. The exhibit displays a quote from Claudia de la Cruz, a socialist nominee for president and a director of anti-American hate group, as well as another quote that reads, "We didn't cross the border crossed us." Isn't that from that one movie? I can't even remember it, but isn't that a tagline of that one crazy, what the hell's now I can't even think of the name of it. Anyway, continuing, the exhibit remains prominently featured on its website, along with a quote from the Communist Party USA's Angela Davis, who was once among the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives. My dreams are not illegal. Not really very subversive, is it? Continuing, the National Portrait Gallery was set to feature a painting depicting a transgender Statue of Liberty. Right here. I don't know what's wrong with this. The former interim director of the future Smithsonian American Women's History Museum declared the museum will be, quote, inclusive of biological men posing as women. Yep. Here is a meme from the White House. They say here, President Trump is right. The Smithsonian Institute's embrace of woke ideology distorts history. Migrant watch fourth fireworks through 4th of July fireworks through border wall. American founders feared non-white immigration, they say here. And then the picture, the stop motion drawing animation of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Let's watch this again. This is probably the worst of the worst of it. And is this even woke? I mean, this is very disturbing. That is beyond the pale right there, man. Woke equals broke, the White House says here now. So we're all up in arms about all this cultural Marxism, all the, quote, inclusivity at the Smithsonian museums. And they got a lot of them too. I didn't even realize that, but you go to Smithsonian website and they have a lot of museums, a lot. They have 17 free DC area museums and a zoo. I didn't realize that. I've never been to DC, so I guess I wouldn't know that, but very prominent there. Continuing, what else did we have about it? Oh, what about the cover-ups? The cover-ups by the Smithsonian. That's what I'm more interested in, honestly, than getting rid of, quote, woke inclusivity. Giant human skeletons. The Smithsonian is frequently accused of destroying or concealing thousands of giant human skeletons ranging from 6 feet to 12 feet tall, discovered across the United States in the early 1900s, allegedly to uphold the mainstream narrative of human evolution and suppress evidence of ancient giant races. Ancient Egyptians and advanced civilizations in the Grand Canyon. Accusations claim the Smithsonian hid evidence of ancient Egyptian artifacts, underground caverns, and giant remains found in the Grand Canyon in 1909, suggesting pre-Columbian transoceanic contact and advanced lost civilizations in North America. Unethical collection and retention of human remains. The institution is accused of amassing over 30,000 human body parts, including 255 brains in the early 1900s, through unethical means like grave robbing, often to support racist theories of white supremacy, and delaying repatriation despite apologies. Suppression of evidence contradicting Darwinian evolution. Conspiracy theories allege the Smithsonian destroyed artifacts and skeletons that could challenge evolutionary theory, including those supporting biblical accounts of giants or creationism, to promote secular science. Hiding true origins of Native American mound builders. Accusations suggest the Smithsonian covered up evidence that ancient mounds in the U.S. were built by giants, ancient white races, or non-native civilizations rather than indigenous peoples, to alter historical narratives. Concealing artifacts of lost races or prehistoric Europeans in America. Claims involve suppressing evidence of ancient European and other non-quote indigenous settlers in prehistoric America, including pyramids, mounds, and advanced technologies to maintain official history narrative, overemphasizing narrative U.S. history like slavery. Recent political accusations, particularly from the Trump administration, claim the Smithsonian's quote woke is quote woke and covers up America's brightest by focusing extensively on slavery and other dark aspects, promoting calls for reviews and defunding, hiding mysteries and artifacts in vaults. The Smithsonian is accused of locking away unexplained archaeological finds such as anomalous artifacts or evidence of alternative histories in vast storage facilities to prevent public access and scrutiny, covering up giant cannibals or super soldiers. Some fringe theories accuse the institution of concealing evidence of giant cannibals or genetically enhanced super soldiers from ancient times, including reports from places like the Solomon Islands, suppressing African American historical artifacts. Accusations include removing or downplaying critical artifacts from the National Museum of African American History and Culture, though the Smithsonian has disputed these claims as disinformation. So there you go. I picture, again, giant warehouse like you see on Indiana Jones with these crates of all these findings, all these artifacts. They just stick it on a shelf. We have to go with this historical narrative of evolution, so on and so on, because they framed up the history to fit their official narrative, the powers that be, the establishment. And I do believe, I don't know about all of these claims. I don't know about genetically modified super soldiers and giant cannibals. No, that sounds, pretty out there, but I do believe they have covered up history to frame the narrative to fit the establishment goals and agenda. And so I do believe that is true. The ins and outs and the details, well, we don't know because they covered a lot of it up, right? We have claims out there on the interwebs. So it's something to think about here, and not mentioned at all in this attack against wokeness and the Smithsonian by the Trump administration. So where do our priorities lie? Continuing here, Kennedy's Health and Human Services Department, there at the Health Department, terminates California's sex ed grant after it refuses to drop racial or radical gender lessons. Any California school district that doesn't adhere to our transgender policies will not be funded. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's what Trump says there. It doesn't look like it was all part of the show, the persecution of Trump, and no doubt he was persecuted, right? They went after him, hoax after hoax after hoax. Where's the real stuff? Where's the Epstein? Look over there. Look over there. Trump and of course, this case was absurd, right? Trump $500 million civil fraud fine overturned by New York appeals court. It was absurd. And it's really starting to look like all of this designed to make him look like the victim and get you on his side. So you would vote for him, or at least get his support. I don't even believe that his voting's real, but at least get the public sentiment on his side with all of the persecution against him, the quote assassination attempt, which looks like it was totally staged up and fake. And it looks like all these lawsuits were staged up and fake as well, in quote lawfare efforts by the quote Democrats. A New York State Appeals Court voided a more than $500 million civil fraud penalty imposed on Donald Trump. The court said the penalty violates the U.S. Constitution, 8th Amendment, which prohibits excessive fines. New York Attorney General Loretta Letitia James said she would ask the state's highest court to overturn the revocation of the fine. James noted that other non-monetary penalties imposed on Trump, his Trump organization, and others were maintained by the ruling. It was excessive fine, though, wasn't it? And so, but they knew that, right? They knew all of that, and they knew it was likely to be overturned. Again, making them look like the victim. Okay, what do? We're getting the deep state, let me tell you. Well, it's all just the government, but here is again from Rogue Tulsi Gabbard. She's getting the deep state, man. The deep state, unfortunately, has existed within our government and within the intelligence community under all these previous administrations. Well, it's called the government. Let's hear now as they distract us with, we're getting a deep state. Don't look at Epstein and look at martial law and look at them rolling out scientific dictatorship, technocracy. Don't think about any of that. We're getting the bad guys in the deep state.
The deep state, unfortunately, has existed within our government and within the intelligence community for much longer than it precedes President Obama. It precedes Hillary Clinton. I'll go back to kind of the first example in my own life that was an eye-opening experience when the deep state was activated, and specifically James Clapper had a hand in this, in the manufacturing of intelligence, claiming that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to justify, under the Bush administration, going to war. What was interesting is we look at what happened then, and I served in Iraq along with well over 1 million service members over the course of that war. And then you fast forward to the weaponization of intelligence that we just exposed recently over the last few weeks, claiming that Putin aspired to help Trump get elected in 2016, which the intelligence did actually not reflect. This was politically motivated weaponization. And the fact that James Clapper was President Obama's director of national intelligence at that time, and then you go back, more than 20 years prior to that, when James Clapper himself wrote in his book that his fingerprints were all over that fake Iraq WMD intelligence assessment. And he specifically said that he was a part of the team that found something that was not there. So unfortunately, the deep state has been firmly entrenched within our government. Under President Trump's leadership, we're getting after it and doing our very best to root out those bad actors.
Sure. You'd resign yourself then, and you'd arrest everybody. You'd all go turn yourself into FEMA camps, as I keep saying here now. Think of that, as Denver says. But think of this. Trump was so bad of a candidate that to do all this rigging up to garner sympathy, make him look like the victim, even a fake assassination attempt too, right? He was such a bad candidate running against Weekend at Bernie's, Biden, right? And then they get rid of Biden. Looked like they set Biden up at that debate to make him look like Sleepy Joe. And then they put in even a worse candidate there, Kamala Harris. Just horrific. And Trump couldn't even beat her without the whole system setting him up to be the victim. Think of that. That's where we're at here now. It's not the lesser of two evils. It's the whole damn government is pure evil. With the never-ending psyops, propaganda, and lies waged against the American people. Quite a sight to behold. Are you not entertained? Moving on here to democracy. And they're rigging it up, man. They're rigging it up in Texas, California. Here, Texas is a redistricting map. Here's now it's drawn. None of the Democrats that I've seen that fled the state, none of them got in trouble. I think it still has to go to the Senate, but it has passed the House, I believe is where we're at now, as a redistricting in Texas.
Breaking tonight, Texas Republican legislators have just won their fight over redistricting. just moments ago. The state house vote is now final. The bill aims to provide 5 additional congressional seats for the GOP. Correspondent Garrett Tenney shows us what's happening from Austin, Texas tonight. Good evening.
Democracy, they're rigging it up everywhere. Here you go. Gavin Newsom, the info warrior, he's definitely running for president and just clown world level trolling out there. He's an info warrior now. He has a podcast and he's warning America, wake up, because Trump's going to rig the elections here coming up.
It's all at stake. It's happening in real time. People need to wake up, need to open their eyes. He's rigging the 26th election before one vote is even cast. He's going after redistricting, not just mid-decade, but he's also talking about who should be included in the next census. Across the spectrum, these are acts of
Take your pick of authoritarian there, Newsom or Trump, huh? They're both crooks. They're both just dirtbags, man. Newsom raised $6.2 million in first week of redistricting fight. Democracy, we care about you. Over $6 million and 200,000 donations in 1 week. How's this democracy? It's rigged elections with money. You know what I'm saying? It's just, man, what do you even say? Both sides are crooks. All the entire government, the theme of this show is that they're all crooks, man. They're all crooks. But America keeps falling for it because we have to have our guy, our side win. I don't know how people keep falling for this. It just gets more and more stupid. Gavin Newsom's a great freedom fighter now. He locked down this whole freaking state. If you had to live here and live through it to understand how tyrannical it was freaking insane what this clown did. And he marched around. He didn't suffer. He didn't suffer for it, but everybody else did. And now he's a great freedom fighter, let me tell you. Who believes this shit? California passes first of 3 bills to counter Texas in nationwide fight over election maps. We have Democrat supermajority here in California state legislature, okay? If you're independent, Republican, freaking Green Party, whatever, anybody else with Democrat, you're not represented at all. Zero. But the whole time they scream democracy in your face, and you're like, but I'm not represented. How is this democracy? And they just scream, shut up, racist. This is democracy. You know what I mean? That's where we're at in California. And it's just, what the hell, man? These people are just so freaking criminal. The California Assembly today passed the first of 3 bills aimed at drawing new congressional maps as Democrats try to counter the Republican effort in Texas. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm an independent. I'm not represented at all. And they say, shut up, it's democracy, you damn racist bigot. That's where we're at. All right, continuing. It's just like clown world every day. We already broke the dial on this dystopia here now. But they just keep going, man. More dystopia. Oh, MAHA, we're winning. We're winning, they say. MAHA wins. Keeping track of wins. Really? They got the food dye out. Let's take a look at this graphic. MAHA wins, they say. Building a healthier, stronger America under the leadership of Bobby Kennedy Jr. HHS is taking bold, decisive action to reform America's food, health, and scientific systems to identify the root causes of chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. According to HHS, 6 in 10 Americans have at least one chronic health disease. 1 in 4 American children suffer from allergies. 40% of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. It's quite horrific. I don't know how these are wins. We're winning. We're freaking winning by stating, and it's probably even worse than that. It's probably even worse than that. But somehow we're winning. I don't know how. I don't know how, but we're winning. Here's a loss. Global plastic treaty tanks end in failure as countries remain bitterly divided over how to tackle the crisis. Talks to finalize the world's first treaty on plastic pollution in Geneva, Switzerland, collapsed in failure as countries remained bitterly divided about how to tackle the crisis. The summit, held by the United Nations and brought together delegates from more than 180 countries, was supposed to end today after 10 days of continuous talks, but slipped into overtime as nations were unable to break their deadlock. More than 100 countries had called for legally binding caps on plastic production. Many also demanded action to tackle toxic chemicals in plastics. Again, it goes back to the fundamental question. Why are these plastic manufacturers putting in the toxic chemicals, the endocrine disruptors, the BPA, the forever chemicals, and go down the list, when we know that they could produce them without these toxic chemicals in there? Well, it speaks to eugenics and depopulation right there. And why do they know none of these chemical companies ever get in trouble when they knowingly are poisoning people and our environment with all of these toxic chemicals? Why does no one, the executives at the very least of these companies, signing off on this, signing the checks, funding the operation, why do none of them ever get in trouble? They may somewhere down the road with lawsuits, class action suits all over the place, poison the hell out of everything. They may somewhere down the road pay a fine, cost of doing business, move on, and we never get to answer that fundamental question. Why did you do it in the first place? And like I said, I think we know why. But until that's addressed and dealt with, we're going to keep getting hit with all this toxins in the environment. Forever chemicals, nanoplastic particles found in your testes, your brain, your blood. Quite horrific. Maybe they'll sort out something. I have my doubts here at this Global Plastic Treaty Summit. Continuing. I think we got to take our commercial break, and we'll come back with taking a look at Johnson & Johnson. The Trump administration continues to tout how great they are. We'll take a look about Johnson & Johnson and its greatness. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself a holograph sticker, the white sticker, and the clear sticker there. Put in your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your Cybertruck. help support independent reporting and analysis. We're bringing you here at Weaponized News, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 Eastern time. Let's play a commercial. Go to weaponizednews.com. You can donate on our website, Cash App, Bitcoin wallet, buy me a coffee. Links in the description below this video. Again, thank you. All of our subscribers, all of our supporters, who are few and far between. But for those that have chosen to support us, thank you very much. We truly do appreciate it. And we need more support. We need more support countering the mainstream narrative and government propaganda every day here at Weaponized News for you. Let's go to our sponsor, and we'll be back with the second half of the show.
Running a small business feeling overwhelmed by numbers and paperwork? Abazaba Enterprises has your back. Our expert business solutions include accounting, QuickBooks support, payroll, taxes, and top-notch consulting. Let us handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. Business Solutions Accounting, QuickBooks, Consulting, Payroll, Taxes. Call 559-577-9250. Call Abazaba Enterprises today at 559-577-9250 for stress-free solutions.
And we're back. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News, Thursday, August 21st, 2025 broadcast. Thank you for joining us here. As the first half of the show, Trump's riding around with National Guard troops in D.C. Bizarre. They're taking down the Smithsonian, quote, woke inclusivity agenda. And now on to Johnson & Johnson, the Trump effect. Like, talk about tone deaf. They're not tone deaf. They know, okay? They know that this is a damn evil company, and they rub it in our face. Part of humiliation, demoralization, psychological war against you and I. And then a bunch of MAGA idiots, I guess, just love it. They love the corruption and evil of Johnson & Johnson. I don't know, but let's take a deeper look at this post. Trump effect. Johnson & Johnson continues U.S. investment with $2 billion commitment to enable manufacturing of state-of-the-art North Carolina facility. Press release from Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson continues U.S. investment with $2 billion commitment to enable manufacturing. We covered that. Company increases presence in North Carolina with a 160,000 square foot dedicated manufacturing facility at the Fujifilm site in Holly Springs. Investment supports companies' plans to manufacture the vast majority of advanced medicines in the United States to meet the needs of patients in the United States. Well, I guess that's why they do it, because they love experimenting on the American people. Just what an outfit Johnson & Johnson is here now. We reported on this day in 2000, let me go back to my history, and it probably overlaps here. In 2017, on this day, from the beginning, Johnson & Johnson is ordered to pay $417 million to a woman who develops ovarian cancer after using their talc-based products. Again, why do their corporate charter should be revoked? But looks to me like they're in on the game of experimenting on American people here now, aren't they? What about the opiate crisis, you ask? Well, it's not just talcum powder with asbestos in it. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the CDC, according to their data from 1999 to 2023, there have been approximately 800,000 opiate overdose deaths in the United States. This includes 280,000 from prescription opiates like oxycodone and hydrocodone, 150,000 from heroin, and 370,000 from fentanyl. The crisis began with overprescription of opiates, which led to addiction and transition to illicit drugs like heroin and fentanyl. Manufacturers like Johnson & Johnson are held responsible for fueling the initial wave, which contributed to the subsequent waves. Johnson & Johnson finished opiate products representing less than 1% of prescribed opiates in the United States. That don't sound that bad, but then you realize they're giving the ingredients, the raw materials, however, through subsidiaries, and they hide with all their many shell companies what they're doing. However, through subsidiaries like Tasmania Alkaloids and Narcom, Johnson & Johnson was a major supplier of raw narcotic materials derived from poppies for other manufactured opiates. Market data from lawsuits and reports shows they supplied 60% of all active ingredients for opiates manufactured and sold in the United States through the years mentioned above, from 1999 to 2023. So major players, the majority player in the opiate overdose epidemic here in America, again, with an estimated 800,000 overdose victims between 1999 and 2023. And they're going to tell us this bullshit from the Trump administration, the Trump effect. And we're supposed to say how wonderful it is. They're building another toxic factory there in North Carolina. And that's a great win. Top 10 wrongdoings here. This is just top 10, and the list goes on forever. But in the interest of time, I'm going to read you the top 10 wrongdoings by Johnson & Johnson. Aforementioned talc powder cancer claims. Allegations that Johnson & Johnson's talc-based products like baby powder were contaminated with asbestos, causing ovarian cancer and mesothelioma in users, with the company accused of concealing risks for decades. Opiate crisis involvement. We just went over that. Risperdal off-label promotion and side effects. Accusations of illegally promoting the antipsychotic drug Risperdal for unapproved uses in children and the elderly, while downplaying side effects like breast growth in males, resulting in criminal and civil penalties. Dupay ASR hip implant failures. Allegations that metal-on-metal hip implants caused metal poisoning, pain, and required revision surgeries due to flawed designs, with J&J accused of inadequate testing and warnings. Transvaginal mesh device marketing. Claims that J&J Ethicon subsidiary deceptively marketed pelvic mesh devices as safe despite risks of erosion, pain, infections, and organ damage, leading to thousands of injuries. XR2 bleeding risks, lawsuits alleging the blood thinner XL2 caused severe uncontrollable bleeding and deaths, with J&J and Bayer accused of failing to adequately warn about the lack of reversal agent. OTC, medical recalls and contamination, multiple recalls of products like Tylenol and Motrin due to bacterial contamination, medical particles, and manufacturing defects, with accusations of phantom recalls to avoid public scrutiny. Propulsid, cardiac risk, allegations that the heartburn drug Propulsid caused hundreds of cardiac irregularities and deaths, and J&J accused of inadequate warning about dangerous interactions. Topamax, off-label promotion, claims of promoting the epilepsy drug Topamax for unapproved psychiatric uses, misleading doctors and patients about efficacy and safety. AccuView contact lenses, misleading practices, accusations of misleading consumers into discarding disposable contact lenses prematurely to boost sales, violating consumer protection laws. And they don't even mention the miracle for the bats. That's not even mentioned here in the top 10 of wrongdoings by Johnson & Johnson. They're no heroes, man, as the Trump administration touts them. That's for damn sure. No laws on medical implants are very, very, very shady, to say the least. Okay. Continuing here. Looks like America's going to war in South America. The Trump administration has issued a top secret order directing the U.S. military, particularly NORTHCOM, or Northern Command, to prepare for lethal strikes against Mexican drug cartels designated as transnational criminal organizations and treated as terrorists. Issued in late spring of this year, the plans are to be finalized by the middle of next month, September, and could involve unilateral actions without Mexican government approval, marking a significant escalation in U.S.-Mexico military relations. Historically sensitive operations in Mexico have been handled by the CIA and Joint Special Operations Command, but NORTHCOM is now positioned as the central coordinator involving broader intelligence and homeland security agencies. Recent meetings between the United States and Mexican military leaders increased CIA drone activity and NORTHCOM's role in operational preparation of the battle space, targeting cartels like Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation. This is part of a three-part series on U.S. Special Operations Command's focus on Mexico, emphasizing the shift toward more aggressive, potentially joint or unilateral anti-cartel operations amid concerns over sovereignty, drug flows, and foreign influence from Russia and China. They're labeling these drug cartels transnational criminal organizations. Well, that's what the U.S. government is. So they should put themselves on this list. So we're getting ready. And again, are we going to look? They got a 50 million bounty on President of Venezuela's head. Looks like we're going to attempt to overthrow the Venezuelan government, whatever you think of them, communist, whatever the hell, right? That's their business. That's their business, not our business. We're making our business. And the head drug smugglers in the world, the U.S. federal government, is taking out its competition here now, clearly. So we're getting ready to go to war, wage a bunch of covert wars here now in Mexico and throughout South America. Trump's the president of peace, let me tell you. Where's Congress in all this? Does Congress have any say? A coalition of more than 30 humanitarian, immigrants' rights, faith-based, and drug policy reform organizations has urged Congress to prevent the Trump administration from launching military operations against Latin American drug cartels, arguing that such actions would escalate violence, destabilization of the regions, exacerbate human rights abuses without addressing root causes of drug trafficking. Trump has secretly authorized the Pentagon to use military force against cartels. It's not a secret anymore. It's being widely reported, right? But where's Congress? I don't know. State Department has designated 8 Mexican cartels and gangs as foreign terrorist organizations. I'm not saying any of that's not true. But again, you think the U.S. are the good guys? Think again. The coalition, it's the binary choice again, right? The dialectic that they sell us. Red, blue, Coke, Pepsi, America drug dealers good, Mexican drug dealers bad. No, they're all bad. Biden, bad. Trump, good. Harris, bad. Trump, good. Newsom, bad. Trump, good. No, they're all bad. They're all bad. They're all bad. You see? You see here now? They give us a false dialectic choice here in the professional wrestling but on one level, it's all fake. On another level, it's very real. People are going to die. A lot of people are going to die in this. A lot of people are dying due to drug abuse, the opiate epidemic, as we have just went over there. Real people are dying in all of this. But at the next level, the freaking CIA is working with all these drug cartels, for God's sake. And the ones that don't want to work with them, you take the silver or you take the lead. Where's Congress? U.S. war on drugs declared in 1971 has been a failure, costing over $1 trillion with nearly 1 million annual drug-related arrests and little reduction in the drug trade or drug use. Because again, the government at the top is running the whole program here now. It was never designed to be one, just like the war on terror was never designed to be one. Continuing here. We're going to cover this today. I don't know if we'll even cover this today. They allege, we still haven't seen the paperwork, Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, Epstein's neighbor for many years, doesn't know anything about it. Howard Lutnick. He says it's official. We have finalized our historical U.S.-EU framework agreement on reciprocal, fair, balanced trade. The EU has agreed to open its $20 trillion market, the second largest in the world behind the United States. This deal eliminates EU tariffs on all U.S. industrial goods creates historical access to the vast European markets for American farmers, fishermen, and ranchers, delivers $750 billion in European energy demand during President Trump's term, and the EU firms will invest an additional $600 billion in new investments in America. I still haven't seen the signed trade deal. Maybe. This is a post from Lutnick on the X. Literally means jack squat. That's what he's claiming. That's what they're claiming. We're still looking for the signed documents. Maybe we'll get them someday. But we're still following this, again, looking for it, and not just posts on X by Howard Lutnick. Because sorry, bud, but we don't believe you. Okay, continuing here. The public interest story from yesterday, I wanted to follow up on again. Again, shout out to Pam Jones trying to raise public awareness, Save Mary campaign. It looks like up there in Humboldt County, they're stealing this woman's house. And so I threw it in there into the old AI to give me a mashup. And let me reiterate this. Mary Garth's background, an 80-year-old woman who has owned and lived on 1.5 acre property in Blue Lake, Humboldt County since 1987, with no mortgage, up-to-date taxes, and a simple life caring for her goats and dog. Initiation of abatement in 2019, Humboldt County code enforcement targeted her property for alleged junk, trash, and debris and unpermitted structures despite neighbors' support and no apparent threats. Court and receivership involvement. On May 11, 2025, the Superior Court placed the property under California Receivership Group Control, or CRG. CRG took possession on July 22nd and evicted Mary by July 29th last month. Eviction consequences. Mary was forced into homelessness in the forest with her animals, losing access to her home belongings, classic car, and horse trailer. The county offered no aid. Criticism of the system. The system is accused of being predatory, profit-driven, requiring high receiver fees, and unconstitutional, echoing a 2024 Ninth Circuit ruling against Humboldt's abatement practices. Elder abuse allegations. The actions violate California's Elder Abuse Act by neglecting and financially harming a senior, betraying officials' oaths to protect residents. Broader context, similar cases in Humboldt County, another similar case, show a pattern of excessive fines and due process violations potentially aimed at land seizures amid rising values. The human toll of such actions by corrupt government. The human toll emphasizes Mary's fragility, fear, and desperate and despair at age 80, sleeping outdoors and clinging to her animals after a life of independence. Calls to action. Urgent letters to the supervisors and grand jury, speaking at meetings, donating to her GoFundMe, contacting legal aid, reporting abuse, media outreach, social sharing, state intervention, and direct support. Overall message here, Mary's story warns of government overreach. Collective action is needed to restore her home. Hold officials accountable, the county sheriff there and board of supervisors, and reform the system for justice and compassion. Yeah. Again, if you want to help out Mary there in Humboldt County, let's see here. Did we have, we had a couple, we had a GoFundMe, donate to GoFundMe, not up yet, I guess, but we have a couple emails here for those interested in helping out Mary. Got a phone number here, a couple different phone numbers. And so those interested, again, the link will be at Weaponized News Substack. Quite horrific abuse. Civil asset forfeiture, anyone? There you go. And so let's try to help out Mary if we can out there. And the link will be at Weaponized News Substack for those interested that want to take a look at this, see what you think. Looks like a clear case of the county's trying to steal this elderly woman's property and profit off of it, sale. Okay, on to, we still have quite a bit to cover. I'm gonna try to blast through at the last half hour here. On to geopolitical news. We haven't covered it much. It is horrific there. There's a big war going on in the Congo. M23 massacres in the Congo. Violence in North Congo left 300 dead, mainly junta villagers, women and children. M23 attacked at least 14 villages, carrying out executions and raids. Thousands displaced as services have collapsed there. There's a graphic. So that's quite horrific there in the Congo. We're hoping they sort that out and we don't get involved, honestly, at this point. German authorities have arrested a Ukrainian citizen suspected of involvement in the 2022 Nord Stream pipe sabotage. But we were told Putin blew up his own pipeline. I don't know. Let's hear this report from Sky News.
This is from Berlin. German prosecutors say they have arrested a suspect, a Ukrainian citizen, involved or suspected of involvement in the 2022 Nord Stream gas pipeline explosions. The Ukrainian citizen suspected of that incident, which damaged the gas pipelines that run between Russia and Germany. Well, German prosecutors say they were arrested on Thursday. The suspect, as by German privacy laws, has only been identified as Serhiy K., was arrested in Italy's Rimini province overnight. That's according to the federal prosecutors of Germany. They added he's believed to be one of the coordinators of the operation. Like I say, this is on suspicion of being linked to that this arrest. The explosions in 2022, the September of that year, actually damaged the pipelines that were built to take Russian natural gas to Germany under the Baltic Sea, and added a lot of tension to the situation regarding the war in Ukraine between Europe and also Russia. And there was also that instance where Europe was trying to wean itself off Russian energy. So all tied in together. It ruptured the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. That was Russia's main natural gas supply line to Germany. Well, like I say, according to German federal prosecutors, a Ukrainian suspect has been arrested in Italy overnight, suspected of being linked to those explosions.
Effing Putin! It was Putin! The 2 weeks again. The 2 weeks. The 2 weeks. Trump says, I would say within 2 weeks, we're going to know one way or another, talking about Ukraine-Russia peace deal. Here now, again, audio from Trump.
Do you think we're going to be able to get peace in that region, Mr. President?
Well, I'll let you know in about, I would say within 2 weeks, we're going to know one way or the other. After that, we'll have to maybe take a different tack.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Putin's condition for peace deal: Ukraine gives up Donbass, no NATO, and no Western troops. Those are Putin's requests to have some type of peace deal, reported by Reuters today. Russian sources told Reuters that Putin had compromised on his initial conditions, which included the Ukrainian withdrawal from the territories in the south. Under the current offer, Russia is willing to freeze the lines there and also return small amounts of territory it controls in Kharkov, Sumy, and this other one I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the other contested land there. But anyway, Donbass, that's where, the old Azov battalion was ethnic cleansing the Russian population there for many years here now. But they're the good guys. Put a Ukraine flag in your bio. They're open neo-Nazis, but hey, what the hell? It's liberal, right? As we've seen. The big deal here now, Simon wanted me to say, he sent me this, and it is a big deal because America's sanction power, tariff power, is waning. It's waning. The big three dogs are getting together. There's a meeting coming up here between Russia, China, India. But today, we'll report, this is what Simon shared with me. It said to report, so I will. He said, absolutely huge news, massive practical deepening of Russia-India relations, including 3 trade routes and skilled labor plus India EAEU free trade agreement start, total repudiation of U.S. pressure. The world's 2 greatest statesmen prepping for Moody and Putin summit by year end. And so the big announcement today was that, well, The Economist reports the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are now trading more with one another than with America, and the gap is widening. China might be the big winner from Donald Trump's reshaping of global commerce. Here's the big deal announced today. India-Russia set $100 billion trade target despite U.S. pushback. And this is double. This is doubling here the current trade that they had going on. India and Russia plan to increase their annual trade to $100 billion over the next 5 years, an increase of 50%, despite U.S. opposition to the growing cooperation between New Delhi and Moscow. A big deal there, a big FU, Trump and your tariffs. Right there. By India. Big Brother UK finalizing multi-billion-dollar deal with Elbit Systems of Aardvark fame. The UK is reportedly preparing to finalize a $2.69 billion deal with Aardvark Land's biggest weapons producer, under which it would train 60,000 British troops annually. Elbit Systems, which supplies about 85% of Aardvark Land's drones and ground-based military hardware, and has been a key supplier of arms used in the Gazan genocide, is at the center of the deal. So that's this double talk. Palestinian state, we're against the genocide by Stormer, right? Talking on both sides of his mouth. Turns out now you got aardvark troops, trained troops there in the UK, 60,000 of them annually. Horrific. They're training our local law enforcement here to go over there and spot domestic terrorists. I know Fresno Police Department, where I'm at here, they bragged about it years ago. I don't know how the program's going now, but they go over there and get trained up. So why are U.S. police treating you like a terrorist? Well, got trained by aardvarks. It's a big reason why. London closing in on $2.7 billion contract. We just covered it. Let me tell you. Oh, here's a good clip. I thought this was a good one. I like Sean Stone. Here's Sean Stone on Hollywood's part of it. He says media feeding media. Sean Stone on he did an interview on RT on what's this guy's name? Sanchez. He used to be on CNN anyway. Let's watch this clip. Oh, sorry. I was reading the comments and didn't even put on the video.
So if you want to create a society that's basically going to submit to whatever the rules may be, and the rules, as we know, they can change, like just like during COVID, they can change by the second, right? They can change by the day, because they don't want people that are going to question and say, no, this doesn't work. That's the old imperial modality, right? It's like,
you don't want an Orban.
It's divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You know, have males fighting against women, have blacks resenting whites, have whites resenting Latinos.
Yeah, which is kind of what they've done. And Hollywood has been a part of that?
Well, Hollywood is a media.
I mean, I know I see it when I watch the movies, but do they consciously think through it?
See, that's the argument. Is this, how conscious is it, and how much are these artists picking up on things that are in the news? Oftentimes you'll go to meetings and people will just be citing, oh, this is what's in the news, let's use this. So it's media feeding media, right?
Yes.
Mirroring.
Yes.
So it's like, if media is driving it, as we know, a lot of media is influenced by intelligence and this, the Mockingbird type, right? CIA dropping of information and stories and whatnot. So again, a lot of this is just social engineering done at so many different levels. Marketing, people, again, the education system, how people are taught and trained to buy into, like, the notion of whatever it may be, egalitarianism, equity, right? Everyone deserve, everyone should. If you don't make enough, you should get a universal income. And there's plenty of fair arguments
as opposed
for
to
that.
a meritocracy where if you're good, you deserve to be paid more.
Trump should get the Peace Prize. U.S. bombs al-Shabaab, marking the 58th airstrike on Somalia this year. So Trump has bombed Somalia 58 times. I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for it. What about you? New report out of 972 magazine. Aardvark military database suggests at least 83% of Gazan dead were civilians. Classified intelligence from May reveals Aardvark Land believed it had killed some 8,900 militants in its attacks on Gaza, indicating a portion of civilian slaughter with few parallels in modern warfare. A joint investigation by Plus 972 magazine, Local Call, and the Guardian have revealed here now. %83. A leaked Aardvark Land military intelligence database shows that by the end of May 2025, only 17% of Palestinians killed in Gaza were identified as fighters, 8,900, while 83% of the 53,000 dead were civilians. This civilian death rate is amongst the highest in modern conflicts compared to atrocities like Rwanda, Mariupol, and others. Here's a graphic of it so you can see. I guess they're not at Rwanda levels yet, so it's a loving genocide there going on. You can see a comparison of modern atrocities going on there. Quite horrific. In the last 24 hours, 70 Palestinians have been killed. How many of them were civilians? Probably all. Who knows? But hey, they're all Hamas terrorists, right? They're wiping them out, man. They're wiping them out. Aardvark warplanes wiped out entire displacement camp near Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in central Gaza, leaving behind a massive crater and thousands of homeless Palestinians. There you go. Quite horrific indeed. U.S. pressures European countries not to recognize Palestine as a state. The U.S. ambassador to Aardvark Land, Mike Huckabee, said that Washington is openly pressuring European countries not to recognize the state of Palestine. Speaking to public radio in Aardvark Land, Huckabee claimed that European moves toward recognizing Palestine had led Hamas to halt negotiations. He added that if Palestine were recognized, Aardvark Land would declare sovereignty over certain areas of the West Bank. Huckabee also argued that there is no famine in Gaza, claiming there are no verified reports of starvation, and blamed the UN for the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's not the Aardvarks that are doing the freaking siege, blocking the aid. It's not them. It's never them. It's never them. It's Hamas. It's the UN. It's everybody but the guys actually doing the damn genocide here now. You see? On this day in 1969, Australian Christian Zionist Dennis Michael Rodham set fire to Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem with the blessing of Aardvark occupation forces. So watch this short clip.
On August 21, 1969, an Australian terrorist named Dennis Michael Rohan set fire to Al-Aqsa Mosque in occupied Jerusalem. He reportedly had the blessing of the Israeli army. Rohan was an evangelical Christian extremist who believed that God had asked him to burn down the mosque. The destruction of Al-Aqsa would enable the Jews to rebuild the temple on the Temple Mount, as the Hebrew prophet Zechariah urged in the Torah. He believed this this would speed up the second coming of Jesus. The attack was the catalyst for the formation of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in 1969 and contributed to fueling the events that led to the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. The Israelis initially blamed the fire on an accident caused by renovations or a false flag attack by Palestinian group Fatah. Rohan was arrested, tried, and found to be insane. He ended up in a mental institution.
But that's what all these Christian Zionists believe. They're all insane. Religious fanatics are insane. Example right there. Now you got him as the U.S. ambassador. Jesus. Aardvark Land's population relocation unit to oversee ethnic cleansing of 1 million Palestinians. Aardvark Land is expelling the entire population of Gaza City ahead of a major ground invasion to destroy the city. It's happening now. It's happening now. This piece of work here, Aardvark Settlement Minister Ort Stroke says she supports war on Gaza even if Hamas executes Aardvark prisoners. They never cared about the hostages. That's why they have the Hannibal doctrine. Come on, man. Come on, man. They don't give a damn about the hostages. She said, what does this report say? It says, caused outrage by telling Cole Barma Radio that she would vote to continue the war on Gaza even if it is certain Hamas will execute the prisoners. She argued that defeating Hamas is the only way to secure their release, echoing Netanyahu's line. Again, double talk out of both sides of their mouth here. Her remarks come as the Aardvark cabinet prepares to vote on a plan to occupy Gaza City. They're all in. Bibi told us that. I think we have video of them telling us that. Here is Yemen leader al-Houthi warns of greater Aardvark land expansion plan over all Levant, Iraq, and Egypt with end goal of complete global control. Hundreds of millions now believe their support for this plan is participation in the implementation of divine will. Religious, fanatical, insane people, a whole lot of them. Let's hear now from al-Houthi. English subtitles.
فهم يعتبرون إنجاز المخطط الصهيوني بتمكين اليهود الصهاينة من بناء ما يسمونه بإسرائيل الكبرى وإقامتها على هذه المساحة من الأرض التي تشمل الشام بكله وتشمل العراق أو أجزاء في الحد الأدنى واسعة من العراق إلى نهر الفرات، لأنهم ينصون عليه في نصوصهم التي يعتبرونها نصوصا مقدسة ويعتبرونها وعدا إلهيا، وكذلك أجزاء واسعة من مصر إن لم يكن كل مصر، وكذلك يربطون المسألة بنصوص يعتبرونها نصوصا من الوعد الإلهي ونصوصا مقدسة وتلبي أطماعهم، أطماع ورغبات وأهواء وطموحات إلى نهر النيل، ويشمل ذلك أيضا الجهة البحرية من مصر المطلة على البحر الأحمر وربما أكثر من ذلك، وأجزاء واسعة من الجزيرة العربية وتشمل المدينة المنورة وتشمل مكة المكرمة. هذا هو المخطط الصهيوني مبني على هذا الأساس، ويعتقدون أنه إذا تحقق ذلك ترتب عليه النتائج المهمة بالنسبة لهم في السيطرة العالمية التامة، فهم يعتبرون المسألة مبنية على ذلك. في المعتقد الصهيوني في الاتجاه الواسع لمئات الملايين الآن في أمريكا، في أوروبا، في أستراليا، لمئات الملايين أصبح لديهم معتقد أن دعمهم لهذا المخطط هو مشاركة في تنفيذ الإرادة الإلهية، وأنه عبادة، وفي معتقدهم أن الله يساعد من يساعد إسرائيل، وأنه يعادي من يعادي إسرائيل، وأن العائق الآن أمام العودة الثانية للمسيح هي عدم الإنجاز لهذا المخطط، وكلما أسرعوا في إنجازه كلما قربوا الوقت لمجيء المسيح. وهكذا حولوا المسألة إلى مسألة اعتقادية دينية مرتبط بها أيضا المستقبل العام للمجتمع البشري بكله، للعالم جميعا، وبنوا عليها أيضا أطماعهم، رغباتهم، مشاريعهم الاستعمارية، يعني هذه المعتقدات هي تلبي أهواءهم وتنسجم مع طموحاتهم الرامية إلى الاستعمار، إلى السيطرة، إلى الاستغلال، إلى النهب، إلى إخضاع الشعوب الأخرى والتحكم بها والاستعباد لها. فالمعتقد اليهودي الصهيوني هو متمحور حول مسألة ما يسمونه بإعادة بناء الهيكل وهدم المسجد الأقصى وبناء هيكلهم المزعوم على أنقاضه، متمحور حول هذه النقطة كمحور أساس للمخطط.
There you go. He laid it out. He laid it out there pretty well, I believe. Greater Aardvark land, complete global control, bringing back of the Aardvark Messiah, the end times. He believes they're fulfilling end times prophecies. Bibi, American shadow president, wants to censor the interwebs. Netanyahu, we have to do something about the algorithms at the social networks. Let's hear now from America's shadow president calling for censorship of anti-septic noticers on the interwebs.
To fight the the deception, the lies, the starved children. The pictures of starved children are turned out to have cerebral palsy or other congenital diseases that leave them emaciated. And Israel is, of course, accused of starving children, pretty much the way that in the Middle Ages Jews were accused of killing Christian children for their blood. So, what do you do against the lie that circles the earth 10 times before the truth has a chance to emerge? You have to shorten the war as speedily as possible. And frankly, we also have to do something about the algorithms and the social networks. This is a big challenge. I don't want to dismiss.
Well, they took over freaking TikTok now, didn't they? So I don't know, man. Maybe we should censor everybody because they're noticing aardvark genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity. Trump administration told Aardvark land to curtail strikes on Lebanon to bolster Lebanese government's decision to start disarming Hezbollah, according to a report out of Axios. Think they're going to listen? No, they're crazy. They're freaking crazy. They're not going to listen. They don't care. They run America. Here's Bibi about brainwashing the youth, Generation Z. Something must be done. They're noticing too much.
Doesn't act like the European leaders, who doesn't succumb to this stuff. But if you're telling me that there's work to be done on Gen Z and across the West, yes. And by the way, it's not only our...
Yes, we must brainwash the youth into backing genocide. More about the siege here. Here's the UNICEF aid worker. Let's play this short clip talking about the siege there, ongoing.
Unfortunately, all too often in the Gaza Strip, we see our requests for missions denied. We're denied, sometimes we get an answer, sometimes we don't get a response. But ultimately, we do need to see more missions approved. And fortunately, we have in the past few weeks after measures have been announced to try and improve the movement of aid. But again, it's just nowhere near enough. We're talking about 2 million people who have faced severe deprivation for almost 2 years. We need much more aid urgently to avert a famine.
Too late. It's too late. Aardvark Land tells medics and aid groups to prepare for Gaza City evacuation. They're coming in, man. Netanyahu set to give final approval for Gaza City takeover. And here is Bibi with a double announcement, talking out both sides of his mouth, as he does, approving Gaza City takeover plans and starting immediate talks to end war under terms acceptable to Aardvark Land. Claims the two objectives go hand in hand. There's a ceasefire, bang, you're terminated. That's how these guys roll, man. Come on, let's hear from old Bibi himself.
אנחנו בשלב ההכרעה. אני הגעתי היום לאוגדת עזה כדי לאשר את התוכניות שצה"ל הציג בפניי לשר הביטחון להשתלטות על העיר עזה ולהכרעת החמאס. אני מאוד מעריך את ההתייצבות של חיילי המילואים וכמובן של הצבא הסדיר למען המטרה החיונית הזאת. במקביל אני הנחיתי להתחיל במשא ומתן מיידי על שחרור כל חטופינו וסיום המלחמה בתנאים שמקובלים על ישראל. שני הדברים הללו, הכרעת החמאס ושחרור כל חטופינו, הולכים יד ביד. אנחנו בשלב ההכרעה.
Come on, man. That's all we got. They're going in there right now. They're going to wipe them out, man. All the whole time saying, well, if it's a ceasefire, it's for the hostages. It's for your own good. And I think I did report on that, Denver. I think I saw you post about the Egypt Aardvark gas deal. I think I did report on that. They are doing a big gas deal there, Egypt and Aardvark Land. And remember at the beginning of this whole thing, it was announced natural gas and oil were found right there off the coast of Gaza, right? But that has nothing to do with this. It's a damn Hamas terrorist and trying to get back the hostages. Here's a map. Here's a map. Remember it was announced like right around in this area, a bunch of oil and natural gas reserves were found. But obviously it can't be developed when you got a bunch of Hamas terrorists right here. So we got to get rid of all these people in here. And of course, it's for the greater good of, but yeah, indeed. So they're going to go in here and wipe all these people out in Gaza City. And they're taking it all, man. They're taking it all. That's always been the plan. And it's going forward on schedule here, sadly. With now 83% casualties are civilians there. To call attention to the gas deal, that's why I shared it, because a supposed hacker group is trying to get eyes on. Huh. Okay. Well, thank you for reiterating it. We can't lose sight of that. they do have financial motivations as well as just being pure evil and doing, blood sacrifices here. So there's like many different levels to it, right? Just flat out, I hate Palestinians. Oh, there's a profit motive here and occult rituals to bring back the Aardvark Messiah. You know what I mean? So there's levels here of this whole operation. Goals of the agenda being checked off as we go down the list here of genocide, war crimes, ethnic cleansing, and crimes against humanity. Quite horrific indeed there. And the United States federal government, Trump administration, complicit in all of it, signing off on it, and in many cases cheering it on. Man, oh man, you're not going to get God's blessings by supporting a genocide here now. Christian Zionists, time to wake up. Of course they won't. They won't even listen to this show. But, wow. All right, friends, that's all we have for today on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Hopefully tomorrow we can get Ruckus on the line. And then next week I have 2 special guests lined up for Wednesday and Thursday. And then we'll have our regular cast of characters, Thomas from Alpha Mega Energy, and hopefully get Ruckus on there somewhere in between as well. But two guests next week lined up. And that's all we got on this Thursday edition of Weaponized News. Let me go to Odysee quickly, see if anybody's over there. We got John Gurr. Highland was over there for a second. Giant skeletons, yeah. Being covered up by the Smithsonian, allegedly. A little bit of chat there. Thank you, gentlemen, for chiming in and watching on the Odysee. Appreciate it. Over to the Rumble. A few people over there. Gunther, Denver, Highland, Chloe. If I missed anybody, sorry, but thank you guys for keeping that chat lively on the Rumble as well. Over to the X. Thank you for tuning in on the X. Again, apologies, I had the wrong headline for this show that I will need to change. I'll have to go back and edit it, but thanks for tuning in. You obviously saw it wasn't a replay of yesterday. Thanks everybody for tuning in on the Kick. I know there's a report about how bad Kick is that Ruckus sent me. So I guess it is pretty bad what they're doing over there. It's essentially a advertisement for online casino using cryptocurrency and abusing people over there. So Kick is, according to that report that Ruckus sent me, Kick is like pretty bad, right? But the guy that made the report said he forgives me because I'm a multi-streamer and not on Kick. But anyway, maybe you need to think about, maybe I need to rethink broadcasting on Kick, because that report is very damning of Kick as being just a damn evil outfit. They're abusing broadcasters and users. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening. And we'll see you back here tomorrow on Friday